Hello students, today we are going to study one chapter, that is one interesting chapter, that is unit 2 of auditing and assurance. Now here the chapter name is audit procedures and techniques. Now straight let us enter into the chapter because in this my rest of the notes will be provided to you in the Collegeshala platform, but for the time being I am just giving a demo of unit 2. Now what is audit, what is um, the preliminary meaning of audit, okay, now how the word audit travels over the years, its meaning changed over the years, all are given in the notes. So I'm not going into that in the details, but for the time being, just what is audit, we can understand that audit is nothing but it's a process of investigating further. What do you mean by the word investigating further? Suppose in the office, for example, in an office, all the books of accounts have been made, everything has been done, all the ledgers has been made, everything has been done. And after that, an auditor is being called upon to see the books of the accounts. Now the auditor will check the account books and all the financial statements with the relevant proofs, with the vouchers. We'll see if there is any discrepancy or not, and if there is any kind of problem, it will be made known to the management and proper steps will be taken. So audit is nothing but a process of further investigation to search the truth of the financial statements. Okay, now for this chapter we are straight entering into the chapter contents. It consists of audit engagement, audit planning, audit program, audit documentation, that is audit working papers, audit file, audit notebook, audit memorandum, audit evidence, routine checking, test checking, auditing in depth, concept of analytical procedures and substantive testing in auditing, audit of different institutions. Now straight we are entering into the first topic, that is audit engagement. Now what we mean by the word audit engagement, first we learn the concept. Here I have written in a very lucid language so that you people can understand very well. That is, in case of statutory audit, what do you mean by the word statutory audit? That is the audit which is done according to the rules, according to some pre-established rules. Means how the audit is to be done, it is clearly mentioned in such kind of audit. So in case of statutory audit, the responsibilities of the auditors, especially in joint stock companies, trusts, cooperative societies, etc., are governed by respective statutes. But in non-statutory audits, the terms of work of the auditor are decided by the agreements between the clients and the auditor. That means in non-statutory audit, the terms and conditions are very lucid between the clients and the auditor. So according to the according to the availability of the situation, according to the nature of the situation, the audit work is being framed between the clients and the auditor. So it is changeable. But in statutory audit, it is predetermined. Thus, before starting of work of the auditor under non-statutory audit, the letter of audit engagement should be agreed upon by the client as well as the auditor. To that, the auditor can start work on the basis of reference of the audit engagement letter. So in a case of statutory audit, there is no such audit engagement letter as such, but in non-statutory audit, you can ask for a audit engagement letter on the basis of which the audit work will be started. So objectives as per standards of auditing 210, agreeing to the terms of audit engagement includes the following: objective of the work to be performed, responsibility of the management is outlined, responsibility of the auditor within the scope of audit is outlined, financial reporting framework to be applied in the preparation of financial statements, all other preconditions that sets audit work in action. So it's an action plan, nothing else. Okay, so this is my first slide. Next we are going into the second slide, and we are just before that we'll see the chapter contents again. So audit engagement, you understood, it's for the non-statutory audit. Now we are going into audit planning. It's my fourth slide. Audit planning means what? So, plan. So, in the engagement, plan of work is mentioned. Now, what is audit planning? Before the inception or start of audit work, well organized audit plan needs to be framed on a timely basis. It is a continuous process, as because audit planning is not only done for the first time audit work but also for all subsequent audit works. The primary two objectives of the audit planning are as follows. What are the two objectives of audit planning? Now today we are planning, tomorrow that plan is not working. It's not like that. As long as the laws are exists, as long as the laws of audit exists, standards of auditing exists. So once you plan the work, it will be continued for the rest of the audit works, for the subsequent audit works, unless and until the management changes, unless and until the scenario of work between the clients and the auditor changes. So the primary two objectives of the audit planning, what can be it? That is, so by this time you can understand what can be the two objectives. You can write on your own. That is to establish cost-effective standards and manner in which audit work is to be performed. Now we are undertaking an audit procedures which is costing huge. Will it be feasible? Will it be right for the organization? Will it be right for the management to bear? So according to the nature of the client's business, your audit plan should be made. If it is a small business, your fund is small for audit. If it is a large business, your fund for the audit planning will be huge. So accordingly it is planned to adhere to high standards of rules and regulations in performing the audit work. So why do you plan? Why do you plan? Actually, why do you plan? We plan because so that we get smoothness in our work. So to have that smoothness in the work, this audit planning is done. Among some advantages of audit planning, proper planning in the audit work with minimal wastages and best utilization of resources, well coordination with proper problem solution are the main area of importance under standards of auditing 300. Okay. Now this is audit planning. Next we are going again to the chapter contents. Let's see what is there. It's audit program. So we are moving to the fifth slide. Audit program. So what can be the audit program? You can understand that is after planning, now you have to make the program, that is how to work. Okay. Now detailed program of audit work is popularly known as audit program. In your own language you are going to write this. That is a detailed program of audit work is popularly known as audit program. As per standards of auditing 300, the guideline for planning and audit of financial statements states that planning and audit is necessary to conduct an efficient audit in an efficient and timely manner. Standards of Auditing 320 mentions materiality in planning and performing audit, which refers to the materiality of evidence gathered by the auditor and the associated audit work. What do you mean by the word materiality in planning and performing audit? That is, to what extent the contents of the audit to what extent the contents are to be included in the audit work. So some advantages of the audit program are plan of the work is detailed in the audit program, the workload is well distributed, better control over work, reduces wastages, ensures timely completion of work, progress of work can be measured at intervals, effective coordination can be made, future smooth functioning in the audit work can be ensured with good audit program. Now we are moving into the chapter contents again. There we are finding documentation is there, audit working paper. Now see, we are moving to the sixth slide of my PPT. Documentation, audit working paper. Now audit engagement letter is given, okay, and audit planning is made. That is how to do what and how to do some work, and then proper program is laid down, okay. That is, for example, I'm just giving you a small example. Suppose today I'm planning that in the month of April I'm going to Singapore. Suppose audit planning, I'm planning that is I'm going to Singapore. Now audit program means what? How am I going? When I'm going to reach? After getting down there, where we are entering into? In what at what hotels we are checking in? What food we are going to get there? etc., etc. So audit planning is we are going to Singapore, and audit program is what after going to Singapore, or how we are going to Singapore, after going there what we are doing, etc., etc., etc. Okay, now we are moving to the 7th slide. It's a very interesting thing, this audit full thing. Okay, now documentation, audit working paper. Standards of auditing 230, audit documentation. Audit working papers or audit documentation refer to the record of audit procedures performed and also audit evidences obtained. So you can understand here audit procedures and audit evidence both obtained, and thus conclusions the auditor draws from the audit work. So audit documentation consists of both the audit procedures as well as the audit evidences obtained. So audit working paper include all such documents kept by the auditor that one uses to various tasks performed, methods, procedures adopted, conclusions reached in the audit of in the conduct of an audit, that can be kept either in physical or electronic form. There are general purposes for keeping audit working papers, which are as follows. It is a nature of engagement papers that draws conclusion about the achievement of the overall objectives of the auditor, acts as a record for the future audit work, serves as a good proof of accountability or duties, assists an engagement team to plan, perform the audit, assists the external inspection team to inspect the books of accounts. So you can understand that whenever this is just your common sense, whatever I have written here for the general purposes, is that whenever you are keeping any proof of your work, what does that mean? It means that you can draw proper conclusions from it. It acts as a record. If you get into any kind of dispute in the future, it acts as a record. It acts as a proof of accountability. It assists the engagement team to plan and perform, assists the external inspection team to inspect the books of accounts. Okay, so it's normal. These are the things which comes to your mind whenever you are thinking of some working papers, nothing else. Okay, again we are moving to the same thing, that is wait a minute, again we are moving into audit contents, chapter contents. There we are going to audit file. So we are moving into PPT 8. I missed something. This is not included in the chapter contents, but this is very, very important. You have to learn this once. That is presentation, ownership and custody of audit working papers. The audit documents are complete record detailed by an auditor to obtain overall understanding of the audit work done in the organization. This is clear. Hence, for current as well as future use of the relevant audit working papers must be filled and preserved for a sufficient period of time to meet the needs of the auditors, practice and satisfy any requirements in future. So we can understand that the audit working papers are to be well documented and preserved for a sufficient period of time. Now there is who owns this? Who owns the audit working papers? So there is an ongoing debate regarding who possesses ownership of the audit working papers. Is it the client who hired the auditor for the audit work, or the auditor himself? So the client argues that the auditor is a mere an agent to his or her organization, whereas the auditor argues that including information the entire audit report in his work rather than the client. So the auditor argues the auditor argues that including information the entire audit report is his work. The client has nothing to do with it. Through various case studies, the professional bodies tries to solve the issue with the help of several regulations and laws. Now, in the books you will find many theories, many case laws are given. These are not important for your examination purpose. You can learn it for your knowledge, but for the timing, just understand what is what. Okay. So custody is what? As per 230. Standards on auditing, audit documentation in India, audit working papers are the property of the auditor and not of the client. On working necessity, the auditor may transfer part of the work to the client. Suppose the client wants a part of the audit work for his or her reference. So the auditor can give it, but the property of the auditor, audit working paper, is with the auditor. Any force on the part of the client is not accepted. That is, give me this, give me the audit working paper full, I'll keep it to myself. This can't be done. Again, since the audit working papers contain confidential information about client's organization or business, it is the sole duty of the auditor and his staff to preserve the papers for a certain time period, which is sufficient enough for future needs of both the client as well as the auditor. So, it has to be kept safely. Why? Because it contains some confidential information about client's organization. In the meantime, any legal formalities are to be performed by the auditor to maintain the confidentiality in the audit working papers. So we can understand the presentation, ownership and custody of audit working papers. Okay. Now, after this, we are moving to the audit file, as I told you after seeing the chapter contents. Audit file is what? Now the papers has to be kept in a file that is known as audit file. Normal. Okay, now we are going to the PPT. Audit file is used by the auditor to preserve all the important documents relevant for the audit work of an organization. It is it's not achieve, it's coming as it's an archive. I have written a bit wrongly. Wait, let me correct it. It is an archive of all the records of the audit procedure, techniques, conclusions drawn from the audit work. That is, as a result, strengthens the whole process of audit work if the record forms a part of an audit efficient filing system. That is, everything has to be kept in a file for future reference. So in your examination, if the question is asked, that is, why file is important, you can again give the same purpose, that it proves as a accountability to the auditor, it proves as a record, it proves as a future reference. Some external auditor can check it for further investigation. If any dispute arises, it can be cross-checked. So same thing, the audit file and audit working paper objectives are almost same. In my notes you will find some extra things are given, which is within your syllabus only. Nothing extra topics are given, but whatever is needed, it's given. So I think the notes will prove beneficial to you people. Okay. Now, next we are going to classification of audit files. It's permanent audit file, temporary audit file, or current file. As the name mentions, that it is a record of all the documents that are needed for succeeding years as a matter of continuing importance. Means those files which are of continuing importance, it will be needed for future, it will be needed for more years to come. That is known as permanent audit file, like memorandum, articles. It doesn't change often in our client's business, land deeds, sale deeds, etc. And temporary audit file means what? It consists of the current year accounting and information subject to audit, like current year's audit memorandum, audit plan, program. It may change, right? So all kinds of changes experienced in the client's business related to the internal control, accounting policies, procedures of the current year, etc. Okay, so this is your audit file. It's very easy as ever. This is one of the biggest chapter of your unit. So just read it very. You have to understand the meaning what is given, so that you can write on your own also. And if you people are forgetting the dates, if you the sections, that is SA 320, SA 300, please don't write the wrong dates. Again, I'm making an error. It's not dates, it's sections. Okay, so if you are confident enough with your sections, go ahead with your sections, write properly in your examination. And if you have any kind of doubt, that is whether it is 320 or 300 or 280 or 200, so just ignore it for the time being. Whatever you are remembering, just write. Please don't write the wrong sections. It often cut marks. Okay. Now come to the audit notebook. It's my slide 9. The book prepared and preserved by the auditor as well as the client, containing all the relevant problem areas that are faced by the auditor during the course of audit, which requires further investigation, observations at a future period. So what do you mean by the word? That is, it's a book prepared and preserved by the auditor as well as the client. Two people only preserves it for all the relevant problem areas. So in the notebook, all the problem areas are written, faced by the auditor during the course of audit, which requires further investigation, observations at a future period. So audit notebook consists of what? Extracts of all important documents of the client's business, date of starting of audit work, date of submission, all technical terms along with the explanations, all details of the important documents, errors and frauds, details of missing vouchers, progress of audit work, etc. So it's almost like an audit file. But here, in the definition of the audit notebook, you have to mention that it contains all the relevant problem areas that are faced by the auditor during the course of audit work. Okay, clear? Now we are again moving into the chapter contents. Let's see. In the chapter contents, it is audit memorandum, 7th. Okay, now we are moving into audit memorandum is my 10th slide. So audit memorandum is all information and documents in relation to the client's business is collected in audit memorandum. It's almost similar to audit file, audit notebook. It's almost similar, but slight differences and separations are there, which you need to just be aware of. Okay, this is mainly collected by the auditor for smooth and quick functioning of the audit work. So here, the contents of the audit memorandum, according to Eric L. Kohler, like location of the registered office, nature of the organization, name of the responsible officers who are responsible for audit work, and other staff members, production procedures, details of the product, all are mentioned in the audit memorandum. Okay, next we are moving to the next slide, that is slide 11 according to the chapter contents. Next is coming as audit evidence. So what is audit evidence? Whenever the auditor starts its work, that is at inception, he needs some available evidences for supporting his part of work to complete the unbiased audit report. Such available information helping to complete the audit report is known as audit evidence. So audit evidence in one word is what? Now, after reading the first chapter, you are going to the second chapter. It's obvious. In the first chapter, everything is written there in my notes. You can go through it once. And here, what is given is that audit evidence means all the the evidences or all the things based on which basis the audit work is done. So all those bases is collected in a single report that is known as audit evidence report. So that audit evidences needs to be collected, filed separately to form the unbiased audit report. Why unbiased? That is, the audit report which the auditor will make is supposed to be unbiased. That is, it should not be favorable more to the client. If the client is wrong, you can tell the client is right. It should not be favorable to the people opposite to the client, that is their right. So it has to be unbiased. It can't take sides of any one party. It has to be true. Okay, so according to standards 500, audit evidence includes both accounting as well as non-accounting information used by the auditor in assuring at the conclusions on which the auditor opinion is based. So audit evidence includes accounting as well as non-accounting informations also. Need or importance is that what risk associated with audit work could be minimized, because there is a risk in the audit work. So if you keep your evidence ready, so the risk gets minimized. The importance of an item or transaction can be judged. Past reference of the audit work can be made. Error frauds could be well identified. Proper precaution could be taken on time. Okay. Now we are moving again to the chapter contents. Let's see. It is routine checking. Now come to the slide number 12. Routine checking is a procedure to check whether all the transactions are properly entered in the books of accounts in a scientific manner as far as practicable. This means that it ensures nothing but mathematical accuracy of the books of accounts. It is simple, normal checking which is done for audit work. It is a routine checking. The name itself is telling you everything. It's a routine checking means it ensures the mathematical accuracy of the books of accounts. So advantages is what? As ordinary items of transaction are involved in routine checking, it is very simple in nature to operate. Only knowledge of accountancy is needed. Routine checking ensures mathematical accuracy, presents true and fair view of the audit report, ensures reliability of books of accounts, that also guarantees correctness of financial statements. So all the things which a normal accounting does, it's coming under the advantages of routine checking. The name itself is telling that the things which is involved in routine checking is of simple nature, and for that reason the routine checking as a whole becomes very simple to operate. Okay, next we are moving to let's see again the chapter contents. We have to see, we have to keep a note that we are missing out something or not, because we also can make mistakes, right, with the teachers. So after this it is test checking. So let's go to the slide number, wait once just wait for a while. Yes, test checking. Test checking means what? That is, routine checking is done on the basis of everyday nature. Suppose, okay, now suppose an auditor makes or takes 100 transactions every day. For audit work, he checks 100 transactions every day. Now, suppose it's a very big firm or a very, very big organization. Thousands and thousands of transactions are done every day by the auditor and his staffs. So it's not possible every day to check the thousands and thousands of accounts. So what they do, they take a sample out of it and test those samples. This process is known as test checking. Let's see what I have written in the PPT. Let's have a note. Large organizations with large resources deals with large number of transactions that are recorded in the books of accounts. So internal control system, routine checking, all are done to a great extent involving lot of time. So apart from this, when the auditor are required to present report within a definite period of time, the report to test checking with a representation sample of transactions that resembles a rest lot of transactions. I am taking, suppose out of 1000, I am taking 200, which represents my rest 800. So if I see the 200, I can assume that rest 800 is all done, all accurate. So if no irregularities are formed, the auditor continues that all the rest transactions are also recorded properly. So objectives, advantages of test checking is what? To draw valid conclusions from tested samples, saves cost in conducting audit work, assess the audit work to be completed within time. Auditor is relieved from extra work pressure, making the task an easy one. It's a common sense. It will come with your common sense, nothing else. Okay, now in your books you will find, means in my notes you are going to find that objectives and advantages, I have clubbed it. Why? Because what is objectives, that is only advantages, and what are advantages, that is only objectives. So I have made a bit easier for you people to understand. Okay, in my notes some extra means more are given. You can go through. In the PPT is not possible to include everything. For that reason I have made it short. Okay, so next again we are going to chapter contents there. Next is auditing in depth. Now we are again moving into my slide number 14. Let's see what is given there. Auditing in depth or audit in depth. Auditing in depth being a part of test checking techniques that refers to the process of thoroughly examining the handful of sample transactions from starting till the end. That is, in each and every way the study is performed and recorded meticulously. That means what? Auditing in depth is a part of test checking. That is, with sample transactions we are going to deal with auditing in depth. That refers to the process of thoroughly examining the handful of transactions. Whatever samples, come to that again, that example, 1000 of transactions is recorded. Among that we have taken 200 to see whether the rest 800 are there or not. Now the process of taking 200 is known as test checking. Now how we are checking that 200 transactions? Through auditing in depth. Through auditing in depth we are testing the 200 transactions so that we can be assured about the rest 800 transactions. Okay, now Institute of Chartered Accountants of India defines auditing in depth as a means of tracing of a transaction through its various steps from origin to conclusion, examining the supporting records as at each stage and ascertaining whether all the requirements laid down in the system of control check have been complied with. Means it, in one word, it deals with A to Z of a transaction. That means from starting till the end, the auditor sees whether everything has been complied with, all the golden rules of the accounting has been performed, all the ledgers have been properly drawn, etc., etc., all the principles of accounting have been applied, all the things are measured or not. Okay, so these are the this is what auditing in depth means. So auditing in depth ensures accuracy and innovation in audit work, because it saves time and monotony in work, because all the 1,000 transactions we need not check, we can check only 200 from A to Z, and it saves time of the auditor. The auditor can engage himself to other important tasks. He can innovate something for the client's business. So this is it. This is your auditing in depth. Next, again, we are moving into the slide that is, wait, once, yes, chapter contents, we are again, concept of analytical procedures and substantive testing in auditing. Now we are going to slide number 15, that is concept of analytical procedures and substantive testing in auditing. Acha, now we are going to this part. Let's see what is given here. Analytical procedures means what? In routine checking, test checking and auditing in depth, sample transactions are evaluated and tested, where depth study is not possible for every single transaction as a whole. I told you just before. Thus, errors and frauds of unusual nature cannot be identified in test checking. So, if suppose 1,000 transactions an auditor is doing for a big business of a client, now 200 transactions, we are telling that we are taking the sample of 200 transactions and testing it for the rest 800. But is it really feasible that the nature of the 200 transactions will be exactly the similar to that rest 800? It can't be always. So there may be some unusual nature of frauds and errors. It cannot be found out in test checking. So auditors need to apply some procedures to deal with this unusual, wait, let me just make a bit smaller this thing. Yes. Okay, now thus the auditors and thus errors and frauds of unusual nature cannot be identified in test checking. Auditors hence need to apply some procedures to deal with unusual errors or frauds of this type. Yes. Now analytical procedures has become very effective in this respect. Now let's see what is analytical procedures. It is mentioned in Standards on Auditing 520. Analytical procedures means evolutions of financial information through analysis of plausible relationships among both financial and non-financial data. So an establishment is being made between financial and non-financial data. Analytical procedures also encompasses such investigation as is necessary of identified fluctuation relationships that are inconsistent with other relevant information or that differ from expected values by a significant amount. This means what? We have to establish some relationships among financial, non-financial data and analytical procedures, and we have to identify some fluctuations, abnormal fluctuations that are inconsistent with the relevant information. We have to identify that. So analytical procedures means over and above the routine checking, over and above test checking, over and above auditing in depth to ensure some errors and frauds of unusual nature. Next, we are going to the substantive testing. This is your PPT number 16. Substantive testing means permanent and not temporary. That means what? In the sense the auditor seeks permanent evidence for the verification of assertion, that is to identify material misstatement at the assertion level by testing the authenticity and appropriateness of the information generated by the accounting system. So what do we mean by this? That is, in substantive testing, what is done is that the auditor verifies and asserts the transactions in such a manner that there is a permanent evidence to those testing the authenticity and appropriateness. That means what? It searches for some strong procedures so that the authenticity and appropriateness of the information that the auditor has given in the books of accounts, the client has given in the books of accounts, it is tested by the auditor appropriately and authentically. It serves as a permanent evidence for a verification of assertion. Okay? Substantive testing finds out the truth of the documents in one word. Like audit working paper before drafting the final audit report. It goes deep to find the truth of the documents. Okay? Last but not the least, the PPT number 17, it's an audit of different institutions. I have not given it here in detail because it will take at least 25 to 30 slides for that. In my notes, it is clearly given. I have made it as student friendly as possible because I have made it very short. I have made it whatever is needed, I've just given it there. So in audit of, you have three types of institutions included in your syllabus. It is audit of educational institutions, audit of hospitals, and audit of hotels. Now audit of educational institutions, you are going to find that the audit of the educational institution consists of the different aspects according to some regulation provisions under any of the trust or under central or state governments. This means that educational institutions can be of different types, like trust, central or state government run. It can be of any type. So different aspects are given in my notes. You can understand from it how the audit is done in educational institutions. Similarly, in case of hospitals, you can find that nursing homes are run by government or some private organizations, charitable trust. Separate audit plan exists in case of state-run hospital and private-run hospital. But the general aspects are given in my notes. You can go through it there. Audit of hotels. You can find it that hotels provide accommodation and related service to the customers and profits. While conducting audit of hotels, some relevant points needs to be considered. Okay. Now here you have to just make a point that with educational institutions, all kind of things in the audit has to be checked. That is honorarium to the teachers, then fees of the students. All the receipts should be properly checked. All the payments made to the teachers for buying the school apparatus for the educational institutions, labs, desks, chairs, benches, and all the things. All is to be audited very properly. Audit of hospitals also same. All the natural expenditures of the doctors, of the beds, all the apparatus, all the medicines, etc. need to be audited. Audit of hotels is the main things will just change. There will be rooms has to be decorated, beds has to be purchased, all the arrangements has to be made to keep the customers happy. So all these points needs to be audited very well so that the incomes and expenditures are tallied and the financial statements of the three institutions are properly represented. So here comes your full audit unit 2 chapter, that is audit procedures and techniques. So hope this makes you interested in the audit chapter even more, and you can go through my notes, and happy reading. Thank you, students.